My name is Conor Wylie. Lost Season spans an entire season of a fictional 90s paranormal show called Agent Faraway Ghost Detective, in which a paranormal detective investigates souls stuck in limbo and helps shepherd them to the afterlife. But it's performed, kind of reconstructed by 6 android actors that have very faulty memories. In 1994, this sort of cult hit paranormal TV show, Agent Faraway Ghost Detective, which had been on cable access television, was on the eve of its primetime debut. And its sort of fan base was very eager to find out if Agent Faraway would find the ghost of his father and get the closure that he craved. This is a detective who investigates souls stuck in limbo and then shepherds them to the afterlife. As it was making its way to prime time, the showrunner got into fights with the network executives. The actors walked off set and they replaced them with AutoStar marionettes, which did not live up to the promise of a perfect replication of human actors. And then the studio caught fire and that season was lost to time. So 30 years later, when you come to see Lost Season, a fan museum pieces together some of the artifacts from that series, and then 6 of those AutoStar marionettes will replay the final fragments of that entire Lost Season in one night. I think it's a kind of intuitive process. It's building on a previous work that I made called K-Body and Mind, but certainly a long inspiration was my father's passing in 2012. So we're many years later, decades later, and I feel like I'm ready to open that content in a kind of more direct way. The essential questions and things that have been keeping me awake are the kind of non-linear pathway that grief takes, trying to piece together fragments of loss, 10 years out from my dad dying, trying to see what's still there, trying to make sense of what it is to lose somebody. Well, one of the things I want to do is incorporate my dad's home demo tapes. So I have I think on his mix about 25 of his songs that he recorded in our basement when I was a kid. Guitar, synthesizers, bass, drum machine, everything that he all recorded himself. So that's gonna be the base for our soundtrack. So that's gotta be it. Lingering on the other side of the door, I hope is vivid dreams of my dad and my grandpa, my aunt. I hope on the other side of the door are loved ones that I haven't seen for a long time. I want people to kind of lean in and squint at the work and be like, what the hell is this? I can't understand it. It's got so many things in it, and why is it so broken and weird? And I want them to keep squinting, and then by the end have tears running down their face also, despite the fact that they felt like they weren't necessarily getting it, but intuitively they were. I am curious about having 6 people play these robots that play multiple characters in a season. I'm interested in the ways that I can disrupt naturalistic representation of people's bodies on stage and what they can play, and the characters that we hear being sort of distanced from the people that they see. So I'm interested in expanding the possibilities for representation of different bodies and experiences on stage. One thing that I've already kind of picked up as an associate, in this very early phase, just in terms of constructing what the process might look like, working with Davey on budgeting for the grant and imagining collaborators. He really encouraged me to because I generally direct and write, or I write for myself to direct, and I do envision that long term for myself. He's encouraged that I get a rehearsal director for the workshops at PTC anyway, so that I am able to sort of separate the writing process from the staging process or the direction process. So that's going to be an interesting it'll be difficult for me to like let go of the reins a little bit, but like I think it's going to be a good challenge, and that there's going to be some interesting learning that will happen inside of that for me. I would say right now, the daily practice is kind of on hiatus as a deviser and a producer and a creator. There's all these other things that we do for work, but I'm coming to a place where I can sort of reopen the daily practice. And so what that's going to look like for me is picking up was doing this online course and cohort called Sense Writing with an instructor from New York City named Madeline Kent, which is a sort of somatic-based writing practice rooted in Feldenkrais bodywork. So I think a lot of the writing practice will look like me lying on a yoga mat, listening to these guided meditations, and then in a kind of like nervous system regulated quiet space, lying there and writing in my notebook. And then eventually it'll come back to my computer. I have an office that I share with a bunch of friends right next to the couch. And at some point it'll look like late nights clacking away at my keyboard, but I'm trying to keep that at bay for now. I also got inspired by a conversation I had the other day with Jacob Zimmer from Nakai Theater in the Yukon. I had just seen Christina Genier's piece, Dear Star Trek, which was like an indigenous roast of Star Trek. She's a Trekkie, but she's got issues with the representation inside Star Trek. And I was already starting to think about, like, as I'm touching on this like 90s paranormal genre that was so shot in the Pacific Northwest, thinking about indigenous actors, indigenous knowledge, both of the land and on these sets and their experiences, as being interesting terrain to kind of investigate and maybe problematize. And so I would love to consult with folks that worked on those shows, or other indigenous folks that are connected to them in some way, and maybe find new collaborators or consultation around that. By this time next year, I hope to have collected some interesting material objects from my ephemera creators. I also hope to have prototyped the kind of live film staging idea. I hope I have scenes from 3 formally distinct layers inside of the piece. Message to my future self. If you have been unable to hang on to that kind of open, nervous system regulated, easeful way of writing, and fallen back on the old habits of buying Fujia and holding yourself up in the office and squinting at the screen and just hammering things out to get a draft done, you probably had to do it, but I invite you to try to reinvest in the slow, open, intuitive way of writing, because that's the new thing you want to open up to.